Okay, so I haven't posted a video in a couple weeks now, and that's because every time I have a big win or loss, I take myself outside the market. I take a step back. I refocus my mind. I don't want to get too emotional. And after I hit my TFSA hit an all-time high, my RRSP hit near an all-time high. Everything was really going my way. I wasn't expecting a big win off that crew buyout. So I definitely had to take a step back, refocus, focus on work, focus on other things. So, to get myself back into this, I thought I'd talk about my biggest winners and losers in my TFSA, my tax-free savings account. Of course, you already know my big winner here, Crew Energy. Got bought out, was not expecting this at all. This was just a sole LNG play, liquefied natural gas. Bought this right around here, just above $4, four and change. I was thinking hold it for a year and a half, get the run up, let some good news hit about natural gas. We were going into winter, which is usually a better time for natural gas. And my goal was maybe $6. 50% upside would have been huge. And this is a pretty small cap company, so that kind of scared me a little bit. I try and get a little bit bigger cap companies now. Luckily, I just picked Crew Energy out of the other LNG gas companies I could have got into. Literally a 70% plus gain within like 2 months. Absolutely unbelievable. That's why I had to step back. I haven't even looked into Tourmaline oil here. Not very familiar with it. I was going to look into it, but I thought I'd take it some time away. I currently still hold the Crew shares. I haven't sold any yet. I am leaning a little bit to selling it in my TFSA, but that's still undecided. So one of my other top gainers is actually going to be a bit of a surprise. This is BlackBerry. Yeah, if you believe it or not, BlackBerry is actually one of my bigger gainers in my TFSA. This company is terrible. I almost regretted it as soon as I bought it. So the chart here doesn't even go back very far, but I bought this in around 2018, 2019. At the time, I was really hyped up about their driverless cars. I thought they were on the right track. And immediately after I bought it, it just kind of slowly cracked down, kept going down. COVID hit. I was down like 30, 40, 50% within 2 years. Terrible news. Actually, I'm not sure if this was in my TFSA now that I'm thinking about it, or one of my bigger gainers that I end up getting lucky on. And I kept holding it, and then the meme stocks hit. That's when GameStop was really rocketing, and somehow BlackBerry got caught up in it. And I remember watching it, and I was like, this first pump here, I was like, oh, I almost broke even. We got the second pump here, absolutely shocking. I remember watching this day by day here. So yeah, it got to 1250, closed one day. The next day, within a couple days anyways, I remember waking up and this was like almost $30 on the TSX BlackBerry. I couldn't believe it. I was so stoked to get out of this because I've held it for a couple years now. I was pretty familiar with the company and I was no longer as excited about the driverless cars. There's a lot more competition. It wasn't going to be as easy. I can't remember if their cybersecurity buyout that they did worked out, but I wasn't stoked on them going in that direction either. But I remember waking up, BlackBerry stock was like around $30 on the TSX. I had never sold anything pre-market before, but I was on my computer. I was like, I need to sell these shares as fast as possible. Literally, the only time I think I've ever sold anything pre-market was on that day, and I got a fantastic price. I think I sold it over $25. It literally didn't even open at $25. Of course, it sold off right away. I was just happy to be out, and literally, look at this. Within 2 months, it had given up all its gains. There was another pump here I wasn't involved in. It gave it all up. Look at this. Now it's trading at $3. I don't follow this company anymore. The minute I got out of it, BlackBerry was like on my do not buy list. And yeah, look at this, $3. I don't think this was in my TFSA now that I think about it, but this was one of my lucky gainers that I somehow survived. I had no idea how. I was stoked to get a 30% year over year return on this one. And obviously the correct decision because this one's just timbered down. One of my best all-time plays in my TFSA. I know I had this one in my TFSA because I held it for a couple years and it did phenomenally well, even though I might have gotten a little lucky on this one too. Navista Energy. So I had bought energy companies pre-COVID and they did not work out very well. From 2015 to 2020, terrible news to buy energy companies. I had dabbled here and there and they did not work out for me. Almost all of them were losers. But in 2020, when oil went negative, I knew I had to get into an energy company. I wasn't familiar with a lot of these small cap companies. Somehow I end up stumbling across Navista Energy, which later after I bought out, I found out it was like 60% gas, 40% oil, but I was happy to keep holding it. I bought this definitely in March 2020, and I remember paying around 60 cents. And it got to $1 pretty quickly, which gave me a bit of a buffer to keep holding it. The market started really taking off at the end of 2020, and this one wasn't really doing anything, still around my buy cost. And the rest of the market was really starting to move up a little bit from the COVID lows. And boom, right into 2021, it finally broke over $1. That was a big moment. And it just took off right after that. Literally, 2021 was an incredible year. It transformed my entire TFSA. I was very heavily invested into this company. I would say most of my TFSA was in Navista Energy here. It was an incredible year for this company. I actually sold this around $7, right around here, December 31st, 2021. I sold it right here. Bad timing, but I had a 10 times gainer on this one. So you can imagine if you had $1,000 invested, it would have been worth over $10,000 invested. And I had the majority of my portfolio in this company. It did a phenomenal 2021. I had to take my gains. So I sold it right here, December 31st. I know the exact date on this one, 2021. I sold it for $7 and right away it just kept going up. I regretted it pretty quickly. I wasn't expecting it to keep going like that. I thought, okay, overbought here. It's going to pull back a bit. Let me take my gains, but nope, it kept going. That whole next year did pretty good there. Would have been transformative, but I'm okay with that. I did super well on this company. I did end up parlaying most of that investment into Meg Energy. I was really hyped up on the oil and gas stocks at this time because I was doing so good in them. So I bought that in 2022. I literally sold it and bought into this one. I thought this one was going to be a little bit more safer. So I did pretty good here too. I bought this one, parlayed most of my gains in Navista into Meg Energy, and this was just a bigger company. It was easy to understand. They had one asset, had long reserve life. I could just hold it for a long time. I bought it in early 2022, as far as I remember, and it did pretty good. It popped up here, not as good as the Vista, but I was happy to keep holding this one. It fell back down. I kept holding it, and I did sell it over here over $30. Held it for 2 years, making a 50+% gain. Not too bad. I fully sold it out of my TFSA. Or did I? I think I still hold some. Not as much though. So 2 energy companies in my TFSA. I'm definitely going to want to downsize on that. But I'm not super bullish on oil these days. So I might have to sell the rest of it. Who knows? I'm still up on the company. I like their management. I like what they're doing. I like their desire to really pay back shareholders and stuff. So I'll see how that turns out. No idea if I'm going to keep holding it. Those last 2 really pumped up my TFSA. The majority of my gains have been in those 2. But my biggest losers would be, this is the S&P 500, and it would be all the other small little trades that I made. There was no big losses that I remember. It was a lot of just trial and error, different trading types, just kind of figuring out how to trade. I opened up my TFSA in 2010, roughly around there. And I can tell you from 2010 right up to about 2020 here, it's up 150%. Look at that. But I can tell you my TFSA had wild swings, up 100 grand, down 75 grand. During that time, I had some active years. Some years I didn't trade at all. I was really trying to find my trading strategy. I could have easily just held the S&P 500, would have made huge gains. Probably be up almost about the same without the wild swings. But you know what? I just love researching stocks. I love picking my own, trying to find the winners. So I'm probably going to keep doing that even though I might regret it later. But yeah, if I could have just invested in the S&P 500 here, I'd probably be up almost as good as I am now. especially in those early years where I really lost my money on it. So I was putting in some risky bets in here because I was like, $5,000 isn't going to change my life. But if I can get some nice home runs, it might make a difference. Pretty short term thinking. But once my account hit $100,000, it's really grown since then. I almost feel guilty that my TFSA is growing so fast since it hit that $100,000 mark. I do now own, as of right now, XEQT in my TFSA. Every positive trade I make or so, I do try and put money into this one. So I do have a nice chunk currently in XEQT, but I also own Mag Energy in my TFSA, and I still own Crew Energy, what ended up being a pretty big bump, and it's actually higher than my XEQT. I was never planning on holding Crew that long. It's higher than I expected to get, and Mag Energy has kind of been a good feel-good story for me why I've kept it. But I definitely want to lessen my exposure to natural gas and oil, that's for sure. But yeah, if you like this video, maybe I'll do a more in-depth look at my TFSA, and thanks for watching.